With my partner Jordan Watkins, my name's Max Agrest. Thank you so much for joining us on your Friday the 13th evening here on Big Ten Plus. Stanford coming to this one 7-8 on the season, but they are the current leaders in the MPSF at 4-0, whereas the BYU Cougars 15-4 on the year, 2-0 in conference play. Jordan, how are you feeling tonight, and how are you feeling this matchup will go?
Well, you talked about Friday the 13th. I made sure no black cats crossed in front of me when I was walking over here to Maples. But no, I mean, it's going to be exciting. You know, for Stanford, it's been one of those things of, you put it, I think, the best way, Max. When Stanford's been good, they've been on it, right? And now they've been up against some very tough competition so far this year, and that's where you see some of those losses. So you want to see if they can be consistent with what they do in their attack, and that's a good way to start it off.
The block is strung from the right-hand side. Partnering up is Moses Wagner and Luke McFall to get the first block of the evening, and that is the first point of the Cardinal. The Cardinal are traditionally a more small team in comparison to the size and stature of BYU, so the block being strung for the Card early on will pay dividends. Jacob Little-Phillips for his second serve of the evening. Good receiving on that tough drop serve. And the cross-court cut shot coming from the right-hand side. It's Connor Oldani, the leader in kills on the team, getting his 180th of the season. This BYU team is one of the top in the NCAA in terms of blocks per game. They are number 8, averaging 2.51 blocks per set. In the middle attack for Luke McFall finds the floor. A very efficient start for Stanford to get us going.
Very efficient, and you talk about some of the big narratives and the big question marks for Stanford coming into this, right? Again, you talk about the height and the size difference. You already saw the block, and then beating the block as well for BYU.
Alex Rotman to the back line for the first time today. Sets this one off. Another difficult serve. Doing a really good job as Fife with the dig. Rotman digging this one up, tracking it, and moving her entire media table, but unable to corral that ball is Moses Wagner as the point goes to BYU. And, you know, showing off that defensive line strength, pulling that table back for us, Jordan.
There's a little bit left in there. It's definitely not the same as it once was.
The muscle's still under there. I can see it from here.
Under there is the emphasis point on that.
Tufunga putting a little too much muscle on that ball as it goes long. And Stanford makes it 3-2. Going back to what you were saying before, though, Stanford has beat the teams they were expected to beat, especially in the MPSF, getting some of the newcomers out there, getting those victories. Now it's a matter if they can put it all together, stay within system, and beat some of these bigger teams in the top ranks of the top 25. Luke McFall a little too aggressive. Service errors being traded on both sides.
And that's the thing. You look at some of the losses, right? UC Irvine, for example. Obviously Hawaii, right, as of late as well. Those are the ones where, you know, when you really look forward to how are we going to do in postseason play and things like that. Those are the ones where you need to start seeing some wins.
A.J. Cottle, the red-headed server out in the back line. Little Phillips within system, back row attack. Rotman got blocked. A stuff from that middle led by the way of Gavin Chambers. And that is what you got to worry about. Stanford, when they can get in system, want to work within tempo. BYU knows that, so they're going to jump a little bit early on and get you off that block. Second opportunity for Cottle here, the middle blocker out of Provo, Utah. Transfer from Utah Valley. Going to the right side, Wagner off the top of the hands. Good receive there by Herget. Pushing into the joust. Clean setup, middle attack. Carrera's there to keep it alive. Little Phillips going far pin. Clinton cross court gets the kill. Welcome back, Nate Clinton. He was injured in the first match of the season against Lewis. Started both matches against Concordia University of Irvine. Sat out the last few matches against St. Francis, and he is back and in charge early as he makes it 4-4. Wagner, leader of the team in aces, nearly gets another one here. Nearly a free ball. The joust popped in the air. Tufunga keeping things alive, and now it's a free ball. Back set, right side, down the line, keeps it in play. Moses Wagner with authority. It's got to feel so good to get that serve, get it right back, and then knock it down for the point. 5-4, trading points both ways. A little too aggressive. This one is kept in play, however. Back row attack, great dig there by Porter. Goes up, sends it a little too long, and Trent Mosier's going to eat those up if you give him 3 balls over the net.
Yeah, that's one of those that's so unfortunate. Like you said, that was such a great dig initially, but the great dig led to a great set, pretty much so for BYU.
Evan Porter, a member of the all-freshman MPSF team a year ago, had 7 digs in the last matchup. Little Phillips over to Clinton, off the triple block, out of play. Fire with fire. You're setting up your 3 blockers. Clinton's going to power through it all. 6-5 as we get the side out. And Nate Clinton getting a little guitar solo as he steps up to the line. Clinton, 4 aces and 4 service errors. And he pins one all, paints that back line perfectly. All the way up indeed for Nate Clinton. And when he is able to join back into the fold, he just gives you another layer of depth for that outside attack. Here's for the second. This one barely getting over the net, and the perfect placement on that ball right past the hand of Jackson Fife. Back-to-back aces for number 28.
I tell you what, I mean, we're sitting over here, Max. That even fooled me. You see the big load and wind up. My eyes went so fast over to see where it went, and it just dropped right out.
I think he was targeting a little bit of a let serve right there, and it just dropped perfectly. And unfortunately, as it goes, you get a couple aces, and you get a service error. You still get 2 points on that run, so you take it as a win. It is 6 serving 8 here as they send back Trent Mosier. Mosier, an interesting career path. 23 and 24 spent at BYU, went over to GCU last season, had a very productive season there, an ABCA All-American honorable mention, but you know, the Lopes cut their program, so guess what? Coming right back home to BYU. A very aggressive serve. Rotman makes a face as he sends this one. Rotman off the chest into the net. And it looked like maybe out of play, something along the lines of that, but the error will go against Stanford, maybe into the net.
You know, you made the point, right, about GCU cutting their program, and it just making me think about, you know, where Stanford's program potentially was just a few years ago, and all that outpouring support that they had. Remember, you had the alumni match was such a big deal. Of course, they'll have that again here in a few weeks, but yeah, it was a question of, even for Stanford men's volleyball, what was going to happen? What was the future of it?
Yeah, and fortunately, Stanford keeping their program alive, led by the 20th year head coach in John Costi, the 2010 national champion. Kamana Carrera, a little bit of a softer serve, setting the left side, and when you can get within system, Tafunga can do that. Gets a big celebration from his crowd with that Polynesian. I don't even know. Do you know what you call that one?
Just a little Samoan shout out right there.
Yeah, there you go. The Polynesian pride runs deep in this BYU program. Softer serve, little Phillips in system, pushing it over to Rotman. And that one did not make it back over the block. Good job tooling it is Rotman. Rotman so many times this season has served as a breath of life for Stanford. When you need a score badly, Rotman's been able to get you out of that situation. And not necessarily needing a score, but you'll take it anytime.
You'll take it anytime, too. And it just reminds me so much, too, of his explosiveness, right? I remember watching his brother, Will, play for so many years here. Of course, a 3-time All-American with Stanford.
Yeah, it's hard to follow that up, but Rotman has gone ahead and paved his names into the record books for the Cardinal as well. Service error there by Little Phillips on his second time up to serve. And now it's Tyler Herget. Very dangerous position here with your server in the back line. Falling down, dropping to his rear end. Hitting that up down was Nate Clinton to get out of the way.
Yeah, that was almost a nice little matrix move right there.
Went ahead and hit that Neo with the backdrop. Second time in the rotation. And it's Rotman, too strong. Man, it's so tough in the men's volleyball game. You have to put so much pressure on that serve receive because of the explosive abilities of some of these pin hitters. And when you do that, that's just the flip of the coin.
And that's what you were talking about before, right? You have to be aggressive going on the serve. Now, if you can get some points out of it, you'll take it. But the trade-off, right, just going side out, is what you're trying to avoid there.
And Luke McFall able to collect the point. Stanford loves using their middles on the men's side and the women's side. And Luke McFall, one of the leaders in terms of hit percentage. He's 4th in the MPSF, coming off another great performance, 5 kills, hitting .571. And his aggressive service read well. Middle attack on the other side, so middle to middle, and it's A.J. Cottle with the point. With the athleticism and the size on display, man, it is so hard to get a dig up after some of these explosive attacks. 11 serving 12. Little Phillips going over to Carrera, and that's a slam dunk from midcourt. Kamana Carrera comes up with a big blow to get the ball right back for the Cardinal.
Stanford's done a really good job so far of avoiding that big BYU run.
Working with pace has worked for the Cardinal. Moses Wagner unable to keep things in play. A 3-0 run here from BYU as they go up 14-13. Tough serve sent long, and now it's 14 all after the service error from Oldani. Well, let's see if the magic Nate Clinton has another ace up his sleeve. Fourth service attempt there by Clinton. This one will be returned. Back row attack to Funga. And Porter, great dig. Overpass going on one. Sent it too far on the outside was Tyler Herget. The setter getting a little too tricky. And it's Stanford, the first team to 15. We've got a close one on our hands here as the number 18th ranked Cardinal lead the number 7 BYU Cougars 15-14 at our first break here on Big Ten Plus. Hawkins Maxigaris bring you the action here as Stanford takes it 15-14 to the first team to 15 in that first initial race. Stanford's been pretty efficient up to this point. They've gone out, both teams hitting .308, and it's been a back-and-forth run.
Yeah, whenever you want to make those big-time wins, again, we talk about the little things. You also have to have the performance that's above what your average usually is. So, again, Stanford coming in, hitting about 287. So you see that 308 mark. You know, again, it's the little things, but also those big-time performances starting to pile up.
Clinton, who did not perform in that match against St. Francis, as Porter gets the dig. Rotman keeps it alive. And unfortunately, on that really big dig attempt by Rotman, it looks like he crossed that midcourt stripe. 15 all. But going back to my point I was trying to set up a moment ago, Stanford hit .478 and .460 last weekend against St. Francis. Obviously, very different talent pool with BYU coming to town. But going back to your well, getting within system and getting yourself dialed up, as it's a service error on BYU, giving the point right back on the side out. But yeah, just performing up to your potential. It's not necessarily how you begin, it's how you get into the meat and the thick of it here in the MPSF play.
And also, too, sometimes you just need to have those matches where you just feel like you can do it.
Yeah.
Right? So, again, you talk about St. Francis. Yes, they're not the same the caliber as a BYU. But just to be out there and have such a high hitting percentage performance, that gives you a little bit of momentum and confidence to get into a matchup like this.
And Briette, who's been out of practice, comes in for the first time since February the 13th in that match against Hawaii. Comes in as a server, and now he has to check out once more. It'll be interesting to get Briette into that back line. He was such a great server a year ago. And as Little Phillips has taken a lot of the reps as of late, he hasn't had too many opportunities. Another service error as Light Hall comes in for the first time, the freshman out of Pleasant View, Utah, and he sends it into the twine. Back and forth we go. Little Phillips, third time at the stripe. 17 serving 16. Little Phillips going for that drop serve. Into the block and rejected. Luke McFall and Alex Rotman throwing up the roof. Timeout taken here by BYU. They feel the momentum shifting, and they do not want to give it up to the Cardinal. Cardinal coming out, we were talking about how great of a team BYU is on the block, but the Cardinal coming out, blotting out the sun.
Well, I tell you what, it's one of those things where you look at the opponent, you see the size difference. Stanford doesn't really care in this, but you know, I think, again, when you look at how this set is playing out, usually what they say is when you're trying to make the upset, right, it's as long as it stays close, as long as it stays tight, the team that's trying to make the big win happen, that's where all the momentum and the advantage goes towards them. The closer it is, the longer it goes. So right now, again, Stanford with a 2-point lead. Obviously they still got to work on closing this one out. But, I mean, how great would Stanford feel, Max, right? You talk about going into set 2 up 1-0.
Oh, 100%. In the last meeting against BYU in that loss, Stanford did have their season best at that time with 14.5 blocks in that matchup. It is a very different BYU team compared to this from 2025 to 2026, especially with all the transfers, 11 new players on the roster. But that little bit of confidence, and yes, you have new players, but the scheme is still the same under 12th year head coach Sean Olmstead.
And I tell you what, a great career that he's been having already at that 200 win mark. I believe that probably by this, there's a good chance that maybe by this time next week, you're talking about him being the all-time winningest coach in BYU volleyball history.
4-time MPSF Coach of the Year. Went to 3 straight Final Fours between 2016 and 18. And you know what? He did it on the women's side as well. A coach on both ends of the net. As a BYU alumnus from 2004, won a national championship as a player as well. Little Phillips sends the point right back at 17, serving 18 after the service error.
And it goes twofold, right? We're talking about Coach Olmstead. One, right, when you have a good team, usually get good crowds, but also good crowds help good teams. And I tell you what, whenever they played in Smith Fieldhouse, they usually have it rocking.
Oh, it is electric. They're second in the NCAA in terms of average home attendance. Maples Pavilion put up a nice show tonight as well. Off the block, this one goes out of bounds. Really great job by the Cardinal tonight. It doesn't matter if it's Wagner or another attacker. They've been tooling off the block to perfection.
Well, and that kind of goes back again to what we talked about in the Open about, it's going to be tougher to go just right through the block. So you have to find ways to get in the margins right offside of it. And they've done a good job to your point.
Ryan Duras coming in for the first time today, a service specialist. Got some run in that first matchup against St. Francis, and he's a service specialist indeed. Great job going up ahead, getting that dig, showing power, then showing finesse. Trent Mosier on that near side pin, just tipping it over the block. Feels like a very important timeout taken to keep this one very close, kill some of that momentum, and force Little Phillips into that service error. And now it's 18 serving 19 with Tafunga. Tafunga the leader and aces on the team. And Moses Wagner isn't able to get the steps in time to keep this one alive. An ace for Tafunga, and it's 19-all.
You have to deal with it sinking and sliding at the same time. You hit a spot like that, there's really only so much you can do as a defender.
That ball has some wiggle in the air. High pitch up in the air. Great ball movement there. Clean receive. Right side, Wagner right in front of us. Able to get off the block once again. Moses Wagner has been a lifeline so many times for the Cardinal as well. In the last matchup, he had 15 kills, hitting .684. That's a career best against St. Francis. So those tune-up matches, hate to call it that, but those tune-up matches against teams that aren't necessarily at the top of these standings really helps you build that confidence, and you're seeing it on display with the shot selection from Wagner. Carson Kneisel coming in as a service specialist as well. And the attack did not touch any blockers. Trent Mosier sends it long, and it's 21-19. Cardinal trying to get a little bit of a run to close things out here late in the first.
Well, another note, too, you talk about that matchup with St. Francis. In football, I remember when I was playing, we'd always talk about whether you're playing some of the FCS-level opponents or whatnot. It didn't matter, right? We talk about this whole thing of nameless, faceless opponents. From the standpoint of it doesn't matter if you're going against the number 1 team in the country or if you're going against a lower level opponent, every single time out has to look the same and feel the same.
Carson Kneisel came out, got a service ace, setting Stanford on a bit of a run on their own regard as it is 22-19. But yeah, going back to your point, you can't play up and down. You have to play your brand of volleyball. And with John Costi, he's done such a good job just adding new players into the fold, sending some freshmen there, sending some guys that haven't necessarily played too much on the season, and you're seeing it on display. Yes, it looked a little gritty, a little grimy early on the season, but as Stanford is about 15 games into the year against a very tough opponent in BYU, you're seeing it on display. New people getting in there, new folds being added in, and showing different looks that BYU wasn't necessarily ready for.
And at the same time, you think about it, usually this is that part of the season, the part of the year where you want to start hitting that stride, right? So, yes, you might have to take those lumps a little early, but at the end where you're in the thick of conference play, going towards the tail end of the season, that's where you want to be hitting that stride, where you have the identity of this is our team, this is our strengths, our weaknesses, and also how we can help turn our weaknesses into at least some strengths as well.
Stanford on a 3-0 run in their own regard here. And this is indicative of the way this match can go. BYU traveling a little further out west than they're nationally out there in Provo. And Stanford coming out hot here, back in Maples after a couple out in Burnham. A nice fill-up of the crowd here, about 30% of the crowd cheering on the Cougars. The other 70% calling up the Cardinal. Kneissl once more after the service ace, keeps this one in play. Quick set, right side, off the block, diving attempt there. Great dig there by Kneissl. Free ball, miscommunication, and Stanford keeps the run alive. A 4-0 run off the attack from Moses Wagner. The timeout does nothing. The Cardinal continuing.
Now all of a sudden, right, we talked about Stanford and their miscommunication early. They get a little bit of momentum, and now you see the miscommunication on the other side.
Kneissl sends it into the net. You talk about it time and time again. You're okay with it going long, but you got to get it over the net.
Yeah, you got to give yourself a chance, right? It's always what we say. Same thing. I know another example, right? In basketball, I always say you never miss short. Like if you miss long, there's a chance it hits the backboard or bounces around. But you will say this though: if you're going to get a service error in that situation, at least you go on a 4-point run.
Oh, absolutely. Kneissl being inserted and immediately sparking Stanford on the run. Setting the back row. Great job with the attack and an even better receive by BYU. No touch on that ball. Kamana Carrera got his hands away, and it's set point Stanford here in the first. 24 serving 20. No timeouts left out of the pocket of BYU. And as your ace leader in Moses Wagner with an opportunity. Stanford trying to turn the page, struggling up to this point, closing it out on the first serve. And unfortunately, that trend continues for the Cardinal as that serve hits the antenna.
Now it looks like there's a little bit of confusion. It's because I thought I saw the same thing where it hit the antenna. No one really pointed to it in terms of the officials. So John Cossey's asking some of the refs, like, did you see it? Did you see it? We heard the whistle, but no one really took ownership of it.
And our line judge, Neil Meredith, will go ahead and make that call. It's going to be a reserve. So, Friday the 13th, getting a little bit of awkward action here, and we're getting a reserve. Wagner once more. A really tough serve. A great set there, and not great contact from the middle attack from Chambers, but it still works out. So unfortunately, 2 opportunities to get 1 point. Cardinal unable to do so on the serve. And now it sends back Connor Oldani. No lives left for BYU here in the first. Clean receive. Carrera with the kill. Stanford goes with the finesse here on that middle shot. And Kamana Carrera gets Stanford the first set victory, 25-21. A great opening performance against a top team. And the Stanford Cardinal are feeling themselves.
I should say even more is you see what BYU is hitting in that first set, right around 200. And they're usually right around 352, 350 or so. And yeah, you look, even just individually, I think by my count, I was looking at everyone's kill per set averages compared to what they did there in set 1, and really only one player for BYU hit above their average.
Yeah, they really force-fed to Funga. He was the one with 6 total attacks in that first. But Trent Mosier also had 5 and Oldani had 5, so you do have a 3-headed monster, but unfortunately for BYU, one of them was going off, the other one still trying to find that rhythm. Another advantage for Stanford here, 3 service aces to the 1 of BYU. A lot of those the way of Nate Clinton, who came in, had a nice little run of his own. Side out percentages, 76% for Stanford, 64% for BYU. Stanford looking strong early on. Let's see if they can keep that momentum. Tyler Herget in the back line. Porter digs it. Back row attack flying through is Clinton. Good receive. Back set, right side, cocking back but blocked. Alex Rotman, the block solo. Great eyes, make that read and get the point.
And what I love even more is the stare down after. And that's the thing, right? Stanford's getting a little momentum. They're feeling themselves, as you should, after that great first set they had.
Getting more people involved in the attack as well, as Little Phillips is in that back line. 3 attackers up front for the card. Tafunga, dug up by Porter. Rutman on the attack, down the line. Did it stay in? No. A little too wide. That thumb down attack just sliding to the left for him. Rutman has done a lot well here, but his percentages are not showing it. 3 attacking errors, 1 kill, hitting -400. This serve too long for Tafunga, and it's 2-1 card. Yeah, the stats lie a little bit here because Rotman, yes, he is having those 3 errors to the 1 kill, but it feels like he's keeping a lot alive and really doing things beyond the stat sheet.
Well, you talked about bringing that energy and the positivity at certain key moments for Stanford. And, you know, I think about even in that first set, right, BYU, I think they had a run or two here, there, about 3 points. And usually it was Rotman that was involved some kind of way to end some of those runs.
Yeah, whether it's receives, whether it is going up getting blocks, being involved in all facets for Stanford indeed. The attack on the way of BYU finds the floor, so now they'll send back their middle blocker in A.J. Cottle, former Utah Boys All-Star team member. Miscommunication here. Free ball. Trying to collect on the point. Going cross court and getting the kill is O'Donnell. That's what Stanford didn't do too many times in the opening set. You cannot give them easy balls to get within system.
And too, on the assist there from Herget, I saw that was a much better pass as well than when we saw the block earlier from Rotman.
An ability to stay within system here. Going with the cut shot on the middle attack. And it is Luke McFall with that ball.
Good switch up there, too, by Stanford. Kind of caught BYU off balance defensively.
Yeah, when you have a smaller stature team, you have to work with pace and tempo. Unfortunately, Stanford has been within system quite a lot in this match so far. McFall into the back line. Setting the left side off the shoulders. And those boulders get in the way sometimes. Rotman couldn't quite matrix that one. And BYU takes the advantage for serving 3. Connor O'Donnell, one of those transfers from GCU. A tough serve. Clinton with the receive. The middle attack, and Carrera with another jam. I want to see those hoops come out for Kamada Carrera. Yeah, he can throw it down.
They're in the back somewhere, right? We can roll them on out here.
Just get the hookups right here. I see the little hole on the floor.
Yeah, no question.
I make the joke, but I really do want to see what these guys have with the basketball in their hand as well. Just so athletic. Long attack, and couldn't keep it in play. Trying to go with the back roll attack from the near side for Connor O'Donnell. And Stanford makes it 5-4 once again. Wagner's getting a second run.
I'll tell you this because you talked about wanting to see them on a basketball court. I think two athletes that I've seen that transition into playing basketball, especially, like pickup or things like that, very well. One, volleyball players, of course, but also triple jumpers.
Clinton keeps things alive right in front of us. The attack to the far side, pin, all the theatrics, but unable to keep the point. Hey, I know you played defensive line, but those quick hands, man. Looking like an offensive lineman with that jab.
So that's one thing, right? I told you, the strength might come and go. The quickness, that's going to last forever.
Usually it's the other way around, so look at you.
Not the foot quickness. I should make sure I clarify.
They always say for a boxer, power is the last thing to leave you. But right here, you got the power and the speed, man. There's a reason they send you out there to go recruit.
Is this where I'm starting to transition into that old man strength that they always talk about? Is that what this is?
I hope so. I just turned 30, so I'm hoping I get that as well.
Oh, you still got a little ways to go.
Nate Clinton, one of the upperclassmen here, the junior out of Pleasanton, California, got us started here. Wagner with a good receive. Rotman sends it into the block and recycles it. Back over to Rotman, off the hands, snapping that wrist back and getting the kill.
A good battle right there at the net. It was interesting. After that first attack from Rotman, I saw Tyler Herget. I think he was looking down almost to see if Rotman was going to cross that midline.
Hammond just doing such a good job recycling off the block and then setting up the attack. Service error here by Clinton. And these are the points where you feel like you want to go on a little run, but you get aggressive, send it to the net. Stanford is not quite at full strength. Snooey a scratch tonight, but Clinton has been a very welcome return here into the lineup. Chambers, a soft serve. Back row, down the line. Wagner was there. Good job keeping things alive. Great coverage there. Off the top of the tape, there was no block there, so the ball did not cross the playing field. And that's such a hard thing to do when you've sat out so much in the season. You haven't played the last 2 matches. Clinton coming back. The timing on those back row attacks is something that you got to work through.
It only comes through with reps.
Chambers once more. Little Phillips pushing over Rotman. And Rotman sky high right at the top of the antenna to throw it down. Kamana Carrera getting an opportunity once more. The block needs to be strong here. Carrera, a little bit of a softer serve. BYU expected to be within system. Going to the backside, the block reads it, and it goes wide. You know, they call the broadcasters jinx. You can use it for evil or you can use it for good. Here on Friday the 13th, I think I used it for good for Stanford.
It's all beauty's in the eye of the beholder, as they say, right?
Don't worry. Folks rooting for the Cougars, you'll get it back. Going with the back row attack and touching into the net on his set. Tyler Herget couldn't get out of the twine. Stanford going on a little run of their own as it's 10 serving 7.
And I'm telling you, I always like to look at the benches, right, when we're doing volleyball. And you can just, it's palpable, the energy that Stanford's bench has right now.
The energy is on display. Usually in Burnham, a little bit of a intimate crowd, but here out in Maples, the fans are bringing it, the players are bringing it, and Tafunga is bringing it as he sends one across the court from that left side. This is where it's dangerous for BYU. They do have a good stature in their front line, and when Tyler Herget goes in the back line with 3 attackers up front, they can be very powerful offensively. Unfortunately, Herget, a couple of service errors on his opportunities so far. This one in play. Wagner puts an end to that one quickly. Moses Wagner, a little more clean-shaven than we're used to seeing him, and he's shaving off the block onto the floor many times over.
And none of that happens unless you get that great reception on the serve by Evan Porter in that back line.
Evan Porter has been so amazing at so many points this year. Little Phillips with the service ace right into your hands. Hey, you still got the reaction speed too.
I always did want to be a tight end growing up.
Playing that defensive side of the ball. And Stanford coming off strong here in the second set. 12-8, BYU taking the timeout. We'll take 21-7 at Provo, or in Provo at Smith Fieldhouse. 18-15 at Stanford. The last meeting here at Stanford, BYU won the first matchup on March 8th, and that one went all the way 5 sets. And then Stanford came back on that second day and got that 3-0 sweep victory in the matchup last year out at Provo. It was a sweep victory for BYU and then a 4-set victory. So Stanford back home. The last time they got a win against BYU was in a dominant fashion, and looking to continue the trend here. Middle attack, not clean contact. We've seen that a few different times as the sets weren't necessarily there, but they're still working and you're still getting points, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, you can tell Luke McFall there in the middle is a little disappointed in himself because they read it pretty right. The block was there ready to go, just couldn't get the right contact on it to get it down.
Tafunga, high swing, Porter receives. Back row attack, Clinton blocked out. Strong block in the middle, and it's Trent Mosier leading the way.
Now that's the BYU that you expect to see.
You cannot let BYU get back into it, get a little momentum there, because when the block starts to follow along, their offense will spark as well. Strongest server into Funga on the line. High points it. Nearly getting the kill there is Wagner. An opportunity to get within system. Little Phillips, middle attack, sent right back over. Going on one is Rotman. Middle attack done to perfection. A.J. Cottle with the kill.
And I do like the aggression there from Rotman going over and one, but I think there was that one moment his eyes got really big, and that ball just kind of sailed on him a little bit. He had to reach back for it, couldn't really get all of it on there.
3-0 run for BYU. Going back over to Clinton. Battle at the net. Left side, Moses Wagner off the block and the kill.
It's a good answer to that mini run there by Stanford.
Moses Wagner standing at 6'6", but man, can he fly. See him in warm-ups all the time, jumping up over the net, throwing both arms there, and that high point every single time, it's almost like he's attacking over the block. Rotman with a good serve, staying within system, quick attack from that right side. Going back over to Wagner, cross court, couldn't keep it in play.
Tell you what, with that angle that he hit it at, I thought that there was someone that touched it at the net, but no.
Yeah, really tight angle. That set from Little Phillips just pushed him into the pin. It was a good job that just staying out of that antenna. Here's Cottle. Little Phillips going right back over to the right pin. This time a line shot and the kill. Feeding Moses Wagner, and he is coming out and putting on a show. 7 kills, hitting above 300. One of those higher percentage attackers on the evening.
Yeah, he's now up to 385. And coming into this, I believe he was right around 247.
Stanford a little lower in terms of attack percentage in this set. And an ace for the Cardinal keeps the run alive. 15-12. Luke McFall has really shown off his serve in the last few matchups. Started off a little softer, and then as the season progressed, started putting a lot more mustard on that dog, and we've seen his aces come in spurts. 7th on the season there. McFall tees it up a second time. Tufunga with the dig. Right side, Cox back, goes long, kisses that corner to perfection. Great job there by Connor O'Donnell. Had to really reach back for that one.
Yeah, he did, and you can tell it almost threw off Stanford's block there as well.
Yeah, that timing can get disrupted if that set is a little too far back. Little Phillips going to the left side pin. And Clinton getting it done on the front row. Yeah, the Clinton shots from the back row haven't necessarily been too successful, but he's had opportunities to go cross court and go down the line from the pin, and he's done it well. Here's Wagner. Tufunga nearly an overpass, has to come back. Good job by Carrera here. Out of system, Clinton goes up into the joust, and 3 Cardinal were too close together in that front line. Nobody was there to cover the push, and BYU gets the point back, 14 serving 16.
Yeah, that felt like a missed opportunity there for Stanford. They haven't had many of those situations so far in this match, but you know, BYU had to send one over pretty free after that good serve.
BYU currently hitting 222 to the Stanford 150 in the set. Back row, Rotman sent away. 3 players coming up and getting that block. And BYU starting to look like the Cougars that we're expected to see. (15 serving 16). Trent Mosier looking to tie things up. Kamada Carrera, a great answer. No, it goes wide. That's where you want to be if you can get within system. Your middle attacker with the highest percentage there, but unfortunately for Carrera, just a little too wide, and Coach Costa's got to take his first timeout of the evening as we are knotted up 16 apiece. We knew this one had the potential to be close, but man, it is a nail-biter nearly every point up to this point.
And the thing that's been so fun about, especially in this half, we've seen both teams now go on these little runs. BYU now in the middle of one. And I think, you know, this is a perfect time to call a timeout by John Costi. Just curious to see how Stanford's going to respond here. Again, they're getting some good looks, some good chances to make some things happen. But I think here in the second set, we haven't seen them take advantage of those opportunities the way that we did in the first.
Stanford averaging at 22.8 points per set to their opponents' 22.2, so they're been doing good in second sets, 9-6 on the season, compared to BYU, who has really rolled over their opponents. The second set, one of the strongest for the Cougars, averaging 24.5 points per set to their opponents' 19.8. They're 16-3 in terms of second sets on the season. So this is the point where BYU starts to really impose their will, and we're seeing that right now. The hitting percentage for the Stanford Cardinal dropping out of 225 on the match as they were previously 444. So that blocking a little bit stronger. The timing starting to be put off just a touch. And BYU, as it's 16-16, starting to find their niche.
Well, it's starting to find their niche and also relying on their identity. And I think, one thing, too, that you talk about with what's so impressive with BYU, you can tell this is a team and a program that's been there before. Because, again, we talked about Stanford and their energy. BYU's been this very level, composed group this whole time. Because, again, Stanford had that, I think, 4-point run earlier in the set. BYU didn't flinch.
No, they came back, went right ahead, and now they're in a 3-0 run of their own, as it is 16-all. This BYU team, a team that is very different from the one a previous season ago, but BYU, despite being one of the historically strongest teams in the NCAA with 9 national titles, they haven't been to the NCAA tournament since 2021. So it's been nearly a 5-year drought, and this team coming out trying to get something going to push them over the top. Currently number 7, 15-4, but in one of the toughest conferences in all of men's volleyball in this MPSF. They're going to have to fight through the grit to get it. Service error on the card. Another opportunity here for Gavin Chambers. Chambers has been very aggressive on the block this season. Came into this one with 68 total blocks, that's second in the MPSF. Here's a great attack on that left side pin. Alex Rotman sending it into the stratosphere.
And do we need to say it again? Whenever Stanford needs that big point, big opportunity, guess who shows up for it?
It is Rotman rocking the crowd. Another opportunity here. Theron Briette, very aggressive, one of the best servers on the team a season ago. He was third with 25 aces. And now the secondary setter in the situation gets an ace of his own. Flipping the coin, got an error last time, and now gets the ace. And Stanford able to wipe off that 3-0 run from BYU and get a little aggression here. Really interesting with the setup here. Little Phillips is in the front line, and now you have Briette, so you have 2 setters that are very capable on the defensive side as well. Pushing it to the far pin, Briette couldn't quite get there, setting it over the top, and that sends an end to it. 18 serving, 19, Tyler Herget. Now an opportunity.
It goes back to BYU, but if you're Stanford after that timeout, you did pretty much the main thing that you wanted to do, right? You kind of calmed the waters. You actually got back out in front as well.
Herget is averaging 10.22 assists per set. It's one of the best in the NCAA, and the back row attack from that that far side pin. That finds the floor. Moses Wagner just parting the defense time and time again. Stanford first team to 20. 20 serving 18, Little Phillips. Let's see if he can control the serve. Aggressive take here. Fife receives. Far pin over the block. Great dig by Clinton. Bump set, out of system, sends it over. Hiding behind the block, Porter. Another opportunity, the middle blocker, right into the arms of Porter. Man, Porter doing up-downs galore. He had a heck of an opportunity there, but BYU capitalizing on it.
Good effort, though, by Porter and Nate Clinton on that initial dig.
Yeah, the outsides have been doing such a great job in the receiving game for the Cardinal. Left side, straight downhill. Moses Wagner flying through the sky. Here's a substitution. Rotman checking out. Ryan Duras coming in. Duras in that first matchup against St. Francis got his first start of the season, showing off his strength and ability from the pin. but he'll go back into his role as the service specialist. High points it. Great drop serve. Porter with the stab. Clinton comes up off the hands of the block. Tafunga receives it. And now an opportunity. Little Phillips, right side, back line off the arm. And it's the Moses Wagner show. Timeout taken by BYU as Stanford makes it 22-19.
You just have to be impressed with Stanford. One, you look at that first set. Again, it was pretty close most of the way through. Stanford finds a run to give themselves a cushion. And now as BYU has to take this timeout, remember, Stanford's the one that had to take one a little earlier.
Yeah.
And I think they've really found something here on this outside. You see a lot of these cut shots that have been coming. They've found some room. We talk about the block. Well, that's one way you can beat a block, and they're finding that line.
You hit the nail on the head right there. Not a lot of line shots, not a lot of powering through. It's a lot of cut shots, and when BYU has come up, they've almost used the aggression of the block alongside with it. They let the block come up early, and you ricochet and tool off the block. So just knowing your scouting report, you had a whole week to go out there, see what BYU does, watch the film, and Stanford has been executing better than BYU this evening.
And that's the thing. That's such the fun part about sports and competition. It's that chess match, right? Whether it's point to point or set to set as well. And you have to try certain different things, right, to see what sticks, what works. And then when you find something, it's up to you to take advantage of it. So far, Stanford's done a good job of doing that.
And they've done it by the way of Moses Wagner, who is leading the entire match in kills. He's already up to double digits alongside a block and a dig of his own regard. Wagner leading us as one of the leading attackers in percentage as well. 471 on those 17 swings. Just a reminder, we're still in the second.
Yeah, I need to find out what he had for pregame meal.
Is it fair to say he had those Wheaties?
It might be.
Wagner with the Wheaties. I'm going to Photoshop a box and send it to him later. Ryan Duras taking a deep breath. He'll get another rip at it. A little bit of a softer serve here. Middle attack. BYU going with the percentage, and it's their man Cottle in the middle. Cottle on his 88 swings coming to this one, hitting 557.
That'll work.
Yeah.
But also, too, you see what BYU went with there, too. A lot. We saw Stanford try to get to the middle and go quick, right, with a lot of those early on. And you see BYU now trying to go with it out of the timeout.
Yeah, they worked really well with tempo when they've been able to be in system. No need to recycle out of the block. Clinton just pulling off the block out of play. Carson Kneissel having an opportunity to close things out here as it's 23-20. Kneissel was the man on the service line as Stanford went on their 4-0 run in the first set. The junior out of Colorado keeps it in play. Left side, coming out, cocking it back, and throwing it down. Man, Trent Mosier really has that shotgun blast, just coming back and really just spraying.
Yeah, when in doubt, if it's not going to go to Connor Oldani, you think that Mosier's probably going to be the one that BYU's going to go to in these big-time situations.
BYU keeps things alive here. Oldani, 21 serving 23. Clinton, not a clean receive. And Carrera after the stab from Little Phillips with the kill. Set point Stanford, 24-21. Moses Wagner, the back line. Man, Little Phillips just climbing the ladder to keep that one in play. And the underclassman on display, Carrera reading it perfectly with the kill.
Yeah, I tell you what, I was already ready to mark that down as a one-hit kill for BYU.
The block! A little too wide. Carrera and Little Phillips couldn't keep it in play. Great job on that far side pin by BYU. No lives remain. Trent Mosier, the senior out of Gilbert, Arizona. An aggressive take. Rotman receives. Little Phillips, left pin. The hook shot for the finish. Nate Clinton goes up showing that old sky hook, and Stanford has a 2-0 advantage after the first two sets played. 25-21, 25-22, Stanford leading us after two.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would have been proud of that one.
We're on the hardwood here, and we'll take the break. Unbelievable, but the guy who came in hitting above 500 looks to be continuing that trend. Moses Wagner, the leading attacker for the match and for Stanford. He is hitting 471 on 10 kills. Little Phillips getting us initiated here for the third. Nearly an ace. Good dig there in the back row. Backline attack, Porter with the stab. And it's Wagner coming up right into the chest of Trevor Herget. Herget brothers both on the floor here for BYU. Wagner off the block into the hardwood floor. Stanford taking the first lead here in the third, 1-0. So Trevor Herget comes in, the freshman at Darien, Connecticut, to join alongside his brother, the senior, Tyler Herget. The Herget brothers both on the floor here in the third set. That's the answer you need. Tafunga flying in from that near side pin. A lot of good connections here for BYU. Evan Olmstead, the freshman libero, son of Sean Olmstead. We got the Herget brothers. We got a great job there in the middle attack. Going right back over to Luke McFall. Hasn't had too many swings, but has been very efficient when he's got the opportunity.
Hey, you talk about this family affair for BYU. Max, I know we were talking about this early before we came on air. There's another connection between two different families, if you will, with in terms of a marriage on that BYU side as well.
Yeah, Gavin Chambers, married to the sister of number 14, Ian Little. And you know what? Claire Little happens to be playing volleyball for BYU as well, so that BYU connection, it's unlike anything else in sports.
Well, I tell you what, you have to be very careful to not mess with someone's sister, so that next practice, that might go a certain way.
Back to the action on the floor here. Past the triple block, and the power on display for that number 13 in white and blue, Trent Mosier. Hearing us talking a little smack on the sideline saying, hey, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, I tell you what, that's pretty impressive. 3-on-1, and the one wins.
Just the power from the senior. And I can tell you, BYU is incredibly glad to have him back. Miscommunication here, turning into a clear opportunity. The middle attack, and he's still hitting a buck. A.J. Cottle with his 8th kill, and BYU is up 4-2. 3-0 run from BYU. They haven't been able to extend it much beyond this tonight.
It's been a little bit more emotion, too, I've seen from this BYU side on this run than I have more than at any other point in this match.
Off the top of the tape, keeps it in play. Out of system, Wagner targeting that back line. Tafunga unable to cleanly receive, and Stanford able to cut that run down.
Well, we talk about Stanford and how they've been doing a good job avoiding a block. That's how Moses Wagner said, nope, I'll just go right through it.
He goes over the block
Yes.
so many times. Stanford may be undersized on paper, but you make up for it with your ability to jump high. McFall, nearly a let serve. First opportunity to return the attack here from Cottle. It is a free ball, however. Setting Cottle. This time, second time's the charm.
You just had a feeling BYU was going to go right back to it.
Those middle attacks in men's volleyball are so crazy to me because it's almost like a windmill dunk. Yeah. Some of the arc back almost looks like Tim Tebow throwing the ball at times, just that real wind back and swing down.
And they just get in the air so early and they stay there for so long.
Nate Clinton with the cleaner tightrope attack. Good job there trying to get under it for BYU, but too strong for the junior. Clinton has been such a nice returning piece to the team. He was third on the team in kills last season, only playing about 4 matches up to this point on the year. And he has been dearly missed. Attacking too long there is BYU. So Stanford, after going on that 3-0 run from BYU, putting together something in their own regard. 5 serving 5.
Yeah, this is pretty similar to what Stanford was able to do in that second set.
Hell's bells ringing through Maples as Moses Wagner gets a rip at it. Huge serve. Off the touch. Little Phillips going back over to Clinton. And it's Fife right there. Back row attack. And the block is strong. Kamana Carrera, the leader on the team and blocks, comes up with the huge one. When Wagner is on from that back line, he's almost like a pitcher, throwing those fastballs, getting those sinkers, and nearly another great opportunity here. Table's taking some damage right in front of us. Little Phillips going back over to Wagner. With a roar of emotion, it's Trent Mosier screaming, cheering, and getting his team rocking.
And Mosier was there. I saw Luke McFall. He had a little look back as well. And you're right on with this table. I'll tell you what, it's almost like we're at a WWE match right now. People have almost gone through it.
We've seen some flips up there, but hey, you got a couple of defensive linemen holding it down strong. Back over to Clinton. Off the head. Terrific job by Fife to keep things alive. Out of system, it was Mosier. In system, it's Mosier. Third time off the block, kept alive. What a rally. And the attack on the right side by Trevor Herget, unable to make it over the net. The rallies tonight have gone the way of the card.
And I tell you what, you saw him miss it there, but so much of that is because of what happened. The first part of that rally was Stanford and that defense up front. Now you got to find a way to try to get around him. You get a miss hit because your mind is somewhere else.
Nate Clinton. Tafunga with the receive. This time with some finesse. Showing the power, showing the finesse. Trent Mosier continues to pave the way for BYU. He's up to 8 kills. They have really been feeding Mosier this whole entire match. 21 total attempts. That is tied with Moses Wagner for the lead. Trying to go on 2. Great read there by Tafunga. Little Phillips hasn't even shown that all match long, but the eyes of Tafunga, and that shows you why he is one of the best players on the team for BYU.
He hasn't shown it, but also how many times have we seen him save it from going over on that second to set up something else for Stanford?
Let's serve Clinton. Full out dive to keep this one alive. Out of system, it's Wagner. Left side, feeding Tafunga. Rotman, a little hook shot of his own. Tafunga, dug up by Clinton. Goes up and goes long. Alex Rotman unable to keep things in play. BYU now 9 points to the 7 of the card.
It's one of the longer rallies that we've seen actually go BYU's way tonight.
There is no quit in this Cougar squad, I'll tell you that. They have fought through and through. Typically a team that has been sweeping their opponents, averaging 24.1 points to the opponent's 19.9 in these third sets. Stanford 8-7 in third sets in their own regard. But the Cardinal up 2-0 up to this point. Back row attack. Kamana Carrera and Alex Rotman coming off to build that roof.
We talk about BYU too, right? That ability to just not quit, not say no. We've already seen them force a fifth set this year after being down 0-2 against UC Irvine. Now they did fall in that fifth set, but man, they're going to find a way to scratch, claw, and do anything to keep this going.
So you're telling me the Cougars are coming out and clawing their way back, huh?
That's exactly it.
Kamana Carrera got us started, and now it's the freshman flying too high and too close to the sun. That one goes long for Trevor Herget. And another opportunity here for Stanford as 9 serving 9.
I'll tell you what, Stanford's really been on it too with these backline reads.
Yeah, the eyes have been so disciplined on both sides of the net today. Carrera putting it into the back line. Not a clean receive. Tafunga is going to go to the back line over to Clinton. McFall. The pancake here, but it touches through the fingertips. Not how you draw it up, but you'll take the point anyways.
Yeah, and it almost seemed like BYU was ready for it, too, on top of anything.
It's one of those timing things, especially with the anticipation that BYU plays with. When the timing gets off just a touch, it throws you off as well. Third serve here for Carrera. Tafunga through the block, splitting the two defenders for Stanford. A 3-0 run from BYU, cut down by a 3-0 run from Stanford, and now back and forth we go. First time into the back line today is Max Philippe, the freshman out of Houston, Texas. And that one goes wide right. Stanford able to get the point right back on the side out.
It's always fun watching the reactions once you see someone make that decision to let a ball go. I was just watching Alex Rotman there. He had the good fist pump and smile. It's almost like one of those nervous smiles, if you will.
11 service errors for Stanford, 9 service errors for BYU. Tafunga off the receive, off the block. Little Phillips going all the way down. Good thing nobody ran into each other. It was Wagner and Little Phillips right there. We've seen the Cardinal time and time again just sell out for every single ball, whether it's going over us or whether it's in Burnham. I saw Little Phillips go ahead, go nose first into the bench, and then turn it into a sliding tackle and almost keep it alive.
Well, I mean, and it kind of goes back to the whole idea of when you're quote-unquote undersized, that's where you have to match it, is with that effort and that intensity.
And there's no undersize in the game of Luke McFall. All 6'9", flying up for the middle attack. Breaking the tie, 12 serving 11. Rotman getting another rip at it. Rotman, the Santa Barbara native. Big swing. Faking the flare,
nice.
Little Phillips keeps things alive, and now Rotman sends it over. A reset here, going middle. And a violation called against the Cardinal. The up ref pointed one way, pointed the other way. Let's see if Coach Cossey's going to get up, look for a review of any sort, and it looks like we're set.
Yeah, I think that was when Alex Rotman was bringing it back over. The back referee over here, he called it going outside of the antenna. I just don't think anybody else really saw him signal. Well, I shouldn't say anyone else saw it. BYU's bench definitely saw it.
Yeah, absolutely. One-handed set goes in the back line. Going on one! And somehow finds a way to keep it in play. He's not hitting 100 anymore, but those percentages still keep climbing for A.J. Cottle.
It's been fun watching both guys in the middle kind of go back and forth with it. As you talk about Cottle and how impressive he's been, and Luke McFall's right there, 6 kills and 7 attempts.
Your best performers doing their job. Stanford unable to get the bounce there as BYU able to take the advantage 14-12 after that dig goes into the antenna.
You're starting to see in this third set, a lot of these serves from BYU, they're not being received as well or as cleanly as Stanford would like, and starting to get them out of sync.
BYU on that 3-0 run. Let's see if they can break the trend. Little Phillips pushing it over to Clinton. Continuing to thrive is A.J. Cottle. He's up to 10 kills on 11 swings, and BYU gets to 15 first. 15-12, BYU fighting their way back in this third.
For BYU, he's had a lot of room to work with, and he's just really found a lot of room to work in that middle.
Cottle coming off a performance where he had 6 kills on 9 attempts. One of those many transfers and newcomers into this BYU program. And the former Utah Valley product coming to BYU, and he has been money indeed. A middle attack on the other side, a kick to keep this one up in play. Full out send for Porter. Bump set, out of system is Clinton. Overpass, and it's Moses Wagner back into the action. 13th kill of the evening for the number 11 in red. What an answer for the Cardinal to stop the 4-0 run after the timeout.
You know, sometimes they say just because of the hustle that you earn a point, you deserve a point. That's kind of what happened there with Stanford. Even when they sent that over, it comes over and one from BYU, which I don't think that you would usually expect.
McFall brushes that back line. An ace for Luke McFall. McFall with his second service ace here. And it looks like we are going to go to a review. Our DV Sport operators and our favorite official in Raymond Mink taking a look at it. If you know Ray, you know why he's our favorite.
You know why he's the favorite. And also, if you've been around any volleyball in the Bay Area, you've probably seen him as well.
Yeah.
I know last year I had a good conversation with him over at Menlo. He's calling a match in Haynes Prim, and just quite the character for sure.
100%. Spent a lot of time with him working some beach volleyball. I was there since 7 a.m. coming here tonight to close off the nightcap at Maples Pavilion. And, man, the volleyball community is so tight-knit on both sides, whether it's the officials, whether it is the women's side, the men's side. I mean, I'm blanking on her name right now, but Kimura is her last name. One of my first jobs out of college was working PA with the women's volleyball team in the 2018 championship season. And as somebody who was so green, I've worked some volleyball, but I didn't know too much. I was coming into a team that won the national championship.
Yep.
She walked me through so gently, teaching me all the little things after a review, coming up saying, hey, this is exactly what happened. This would be a great way to tell the audience what was going on. And all these years later, 8 years have passed, and now I have enough knowledge to come here and talk to you guys on a broadcast. So it's just such a small, tight-knit community despite being transcended beyond borders.
Yeah, and to that point, right, I've known Stanford's SID Regina for almost feels like at least a decade. And even in passing, right in the hallways at Jimmy V's, you start up a conversation. They're always, to your point, always happy to talk about volleyball, especially when you show that eagerness and willingness to learn about it.
And Regina handling a lot of volleyball as the lead SID for the women's and the men's side. Luke McFall deemed true. So Stanford able to keep the point off the ace. Trying to go for a second one. Right side, the attack off the block. Clean opportunity here. They'll go over to Wagner. And the first real off look from that right side from Wagner this evening. He can't stay perfect. Moses Wagner gives the point back over to BYU.
Yeah, that one looked like it just went off the fingertips. A little bit of a missed timing. Haven't seen that often tonight from him.
Cottle serves. Kamana Carrera not on the same page there. Just a little off. The block was right up there, but it was one-on-one. If Carrera would have had an opportunity to get a good swing at that, that could have paid dividends, but instead, 17 serving 14.
Yeah, he looked like he was expecting a change in tempo there, then had to change midway to try to get over the top of it and just couldn't do it.
Clinton's defense has really been on display, going right back over to Carrera, and I love to see that. One, Clinton inserted back in the lineup has shown such a great ability to receive off some big attacks. And two, you have a guy have a little hiccup, you go right back to him.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things. One, it's you can tell what the culture is around a team and a program when you know that's what's going to happen, right? And also at the same time, you know it's going to happen because you know you expect someone to come through and make it pay off.
Looks like some of the beach volleyball players coming through after their successful outing, taking on Houston Christian as well as the University of Washington. So Maples, despite the fact that we're in the third, a lot of fans starting to roll through and pack Maples Pavilion.
Yeah, pretty cool too, because if you're unfamiliar with the Stanford athletics landscape, so much going on this weekend. You already talked about beach volleyball, baseball's at home, softball's at home right now as well too. A lot going on, and people still showing up here in Maples.
A little too strong in the attempt there was Theron Priette, who has come in as a service specialist here in this match. He's had about a month off and has had flashes of success. 18 serving 15. BYU in the driver's seat here. Let's serve, unable to keep it in play. Trevor Herget with the service error.
There's a big point coming up right here for Stanford.
It's Nate Clinton. Here's the overpass. Porter sets, Briette's in that front line, and Carrera right into the mouthpiece of Jackson Fife.
Now that looks more like that tempo and the coordination that we've seen from Stanford, especially when that middle attack is in play.
So interesting thing to note here, checking in for the first time is Eric Ask, who has been very good as a young freshman out of Sweden. Theron Briette is the setter here in this unit, replacing Little Phillips. Chiseling off the block is Trevor Herget, and he gets his point back. 19 serving 17. Coach Costi throwing a little shakeup here in the lineup. Let's see if it can cause a spark here. Here's Moser. Briette, heads up play, crossing the net, but Clinton wasn't able to capitalize. We've seen Briette do that quite a few times this year, where he crosses the net, keeps it in play from some awkward angles, but unfortunately, the Cardinal weren't able to pin a highlight on top of that one. BYU gets to 20 points for the first time above the Stanford Cardinal here in the third set, 2017. Looking like a very different third here, as BYU has been in the driver's seat the majority of it.
They have been, and for the first time really tonight, we've seen them able to fight and withstand when Stanford gets on those runs themselves. Again, you think about the second set where we talked about, right, for the course of the year, that's been where BYU really starts to flex their muscles. And Stanford, they weathered that storm, found a way to come out with that one. I mean, even here, right, we've seen a few times now where Stanford looks like, oh, they're doing it again. They're going to make that run again to take the lead. And BYU's had an answer every single time.
And so for the Cardinal, bringing in Briette, he's been a service specialist up to this point, but now he's getting a little bit of replacement of Little Phillips. You bring in another big piece in Eric Ask as the 6'9 freshman outside hitter. You're putting a little more size on the front end. What do you think that chess move from John Costi is really going to show?
Well, I think one is showing, again, when we talked about from that second set, a lot of those cut shots were there. It hasn't really been that as open for Stanford here in set number 3. So now you might have to go back with that traditional way, right, of going right over the top. We've seen actually a couple of that with Moses Wagner. He's done that, right, go right over the top of that block of BYU. So maybe that's another way to try to even bolster that approach here.
Eric Ask inserted out of Västerås, Sweden. He has been very productive in his outings. 8 kills, hitting .333 in the first matchup against St. Francis. But here in the third, he will come up to bolster that front line. We'll have to get past the serve of Trent Mosier first. 20 serving 17 after the timeout. Clinton got the dig. And Rotman, did he catch a hand? Yes, he did. Alex Rotman getting back to zeros in the hit percentage, digging out of a little rut there.
That's about as convincing, too, as you can make an argument to say someone touched it on the other side.
Here's Kamana Carrera. Despite the soft serve, Stanford has scored their last 3 points off a Carrera serve. Bump set. Flying is Tafunga. Clinton went back there to try to dig it up, but the power too strong for the man out of Long Beach, California.
That's like you saw Eric Ask, right? You made that point about him being inserted. He was right there in the middle of that whole sequence.
And now it's Max Philippe once more. Last match played was against UC Merced. And the middle blocker going too far. So now, keeping things close is the name of the game right now. Advantage for BYU by the score of 19 serving 21. Little Phelps checking back in for an opportunity to serve, so a few different pieces move around on the Stanford side of the net. We'll see if they can get a run here. Little Phillips. That's a tough rep right there.
It is, to your point, this is that you're running out of points in the set if you're Stanford, so you want to try to piece some things together, and you go side out.
Looks like Stanford's going to take the timeout here, and this is a very important timeout to be used. Stanford with their second timeout as BYU leads the third set 22-19. Stanford with the advantage, 2-0 on the set, but it feels like a little bit of a momentum shift here in the third.
It has been, and I think this has been a little bit more of a cleaner performance from BYU, much more of what you would expect coming into tonight. Because, again, like I said, they've already shown that they can do this and cause a fifth set when they're down 0-2. And they did that against UC Irvine already. So, again, not unfamiliar territory for BYU, even though they're not there often. And they're going back to, again, what their strengths are.
That has been the difference. The strength of the block has been more evident here in the second. Even if you're not necessarily getting blocks, it's that imposing presence, not allowing the shot selection that Stanford had so much success with early on. So that's why you're changing pieces up, going with a little bit of a different look with some more size on that front line they can put in. And man, it is a tough job looking for an answer here as BYU starting to look like we expected them to be as the number 7 team coming in to Maples.
And the hit percentage really shows it in terms of collective. Every single set now, Stanford's gone down, and it's been pretty drastic, right? The 444 mark, set 1, 256 in set 2, and right now they're sitting at 148 here in set number 3.
And how much of a factor does fatigue have to play in that?
Well, I think, again, it's when you're looking for that big win, so many things have to go right that any little slip up here or there, it can really cost you. And one, it'll cost you, but also a team as good as BYU, they're going to take advantage of it.
And one of the biggest differences I've noticed as well is the energy has been
Yes.
off the charts for the bench of BYU, whereas Stanford was a little bit sloth-like. And a really big situation here. After a service error, after taking the timeout, it's almost like it's guaranteed. I've seen so many service errors.
No question.
One of the toughest positions to be in for a server. But it keeps your life alive. Not wasting any opportunities, sending Ryan Duras here. An applause from his teammates on the bench. Duras, too long. Not much wiggle room left here as it's 23 serving 20. Alex Rotman will come back in to replace Duras. And this is where you want to be in your rotation for BYU. Tufunga has the opportunity to send some bullets from that back line. Nearly did it there. Clinton doing a great job with the receive. Wagner going up with the joust, and Mosier got too close to that line, getting right into that tape.
All right, if you're Stanford, obviously stating the obvious here, but it's go time.
Go time indeed. And with Luke McFall's 2 service aces, this is who you want on the back line in this situation. Needing a run. High pointing it is McFall. Couldn't quite keep it in play. Hey, BYU fans, I told you I'd get you guys a point back there. That is exactly it. Down 2-0. BYU 24 set point here in the third. The chomps on full display from the fans that have made it here from Provo. Cottle. And Carrera just had an opportunity to float in the sky, had a 1 Mississippi and hits it down into the floor.
You say float, I say levitate. I mean, he was up there again. It almost seemed like he was getting ready again for that change in tempo and just decided, I'm up here. I'll hang out for a little bit.
You can see the flutter from those arms. Wagner keeps it in play. Left side pin, too far gone. And Trent Mosier with a service error an attacking error. Forces the first timeout here out of the pocket of BYU. With their backs against the wall, Stanford fighting back, making it 23 serving 24.
I tell you what, how much fun is this? We talk about Stanford. The last 2 points that they've given up were their own doing, right? They were the 2 service errors. And now here they are as they look up. Again, no room for error, right? You talk about it, your back's against the wall here in this set. And, I mean, who knows? You might get a good serve here, but can they get that one big defensive play to get themselves an opportunity to tie this up?
Anything can happen on the hardwood floor. And with the Black Cats running across the stadium here on the Friday the 13th, let's see if the Stanford Cardinal can try to use this momentum to go forward. We talked about it moments ago. The serve after a timeout is one of the toughest situations to be in all of sport. And with Moses Wagner, a senior here, does he have a little magic in his pocket?
Well, it's the ultimate ice the kicker, right? When you're coming out of that timeout, the serve. which makes it then interesting for Stanford, right? Obviously, you know that's set point for BYU. How are you going to handle this? Are you going to be aggressive, which we have seen them try to do for the majority of this match, or are you going to try to ease it in and, again, just hopefully you have that big-time defensive play to give yourself a chance to tie it up?
I don't think this is the position where you can try to ease things in. You got to go full send and try to tie things up here. Huge serve for Moses Wagner in the third. He's going full send. Tafunga receives it. Top of the block. Into the stands, and after the timeout, a great defensive play by Tafunga turns into a point. 25-23. We're going to a fourth set here as BYU claws their way back in. Flipping the sides of the court, Tyler Herget will get the first rip at it here in the fourth. A really strong serve to start. Little Phillips over to Rotman Recycling. Going to McFall. Talking about hyping up the middle for BYU. And Luke McFall said, hey, don't forget about me.
Yeah, he's been impressive in his own right. I believe for him, that's kill number 7 in 9 attacks. And I think the thing, too, for Stanford, I'm curious to see, as they try to respond in set 4, can they find some of that ace magic again? Those first 2 sets, 3 aces apiece, only 1 in that third set.
Yeah, that's been a big difference, too. And it's great spots on the floor that have allowed them to do it. Brother to brother. Tyler to Trevor. And Trevor with the kill. You know, it's like sister, but brother.
You know, I just wonder how many times they've been on vacation at the beach and they just pull up and they're absolutely dominating in rhythm compared to everybody else.
Service error there by Tafunga as we go back to the Herget brother family connection. 1 of 4 brothers, all of them have played volleyball. Their father played volleyball at BYU. Their brother Todd Jr. played at Ohio State. Brother Tim playing at Penn State. So a deep connection to volleyball for those 2 brothers. This time the block able to send it back against Cottle. Coming back, the triple block, throwing it down. Trent Mosier didn't have enough power to go through the block. The 3 on the side of Stanford wins that one.
Max, don't you love it when the athletes out there on the court make the broadcaster just look so smart? How much did you just talk about the sideline adjustments of what they have to do with the presence in the middle attack? That's the first time I've really seen the block be right there.
You know, it's like we watch tape. The attack goes long. Did he catch any fingers on the way out? No. Trent Mosier, a little bit of a slow start here in the second as Stanford goes up 4-1.
Yeah, I wonder if we might see an early timeout here from BYU if this keeps going for Stanford.
We saw it occur in the first. They were able to keep things relatively close after a timeout. Rotman delivering the serve. And it's the brother on the right side, Trevor Herget. He came in the third, and man, he has been flying. Trevor only 6'3" as a pin side hitter. And you know what that means? You got to jump really high. Here's A.J. Cottle. Rotman with the overhand dig. Going over to Clinton. McFall! Balling out, 22-on-22 crime.
Yeah, Luke McFall is making sure that you guys can talk about A.J. Cottle all you want. Don't forget about me over here.
He has been such a huge piece of the offense. This is one of his best performances of the season. 8 kills, 10 total attacks to pair alongside his 2 aces, a dig, and 3 blocks. Hey, how about it again? Third ace of the evening. Maples is roaring for their middle blocker. The energy in Maples is really becoming palpable here.
And you can tell Stanford's really feeding off of it too.
McFall trying to paint that back line once again. A little too strong there. Clinton's going to come in to replace him, but smiles all around as Stanford has the 3-point advantage early.
I mean, you even saw it on the bench. There's not many times that you see after a service error, everyone's kind of jumping up and like, ooh, we almost had that one. But again, you talk about the energy from the crowd. Stanford's really feeling it right now.
A really strong missile from that back line by Herget. Trying to get a little tricky there was Wagner out of system. And coming back and collecting his rent Trent Mosier. Here's where you got to keep the energy up. Energy a little bit lower after those 2 missed plays by Stanford. BYU starting to get a little bit of a simmer. Can't let them boil over. Trevor Herget very aggressive. Porter with the receive. Going back over to Clinton. Stuck in the hands of the block. Clinton 2 times. Nice dig there by Trevor Herget. Herget on the attack, but Carrera and Clinton were there.
So used to seeing that big smile from Carrera. Now he's going to show it a little bit after the block. But at first, it was almost like a stone-cold stare.
He tried to get a little menacing, and then he remembered who he was.
He couldn't help it.
The fun-loving nature of all the volleyball players on this Stanford team. Little short set, Wagner with the overpass. Middle attack. This time it's a different attacker in Felipe, and Clinton just had it go through his hands.
Yeah, a little bit of a miscommunication there from Stanford.
You know what that looked like? That looked like a defensive lineman when the ball comes right to them and they try to bat it down,
See,
and they can't quite get the catch.
That couldn't be me. I don't know what D lineman you're talking
Well, you got soft hands. That's me. Carrera with the swing going on 2. Tyler Herget. Back set, right side. Finding that corner to perfection is Moses Wagner. He's up to 15 kills, hitting well above 350.
That whole sequence for Stanford, you can't draw it up any better than that.
Slow and steady wins the race. Stanford has the 2-set advantage here in the 4th. Clinton, that's the one thing he has not really been able to get back into his grouping. Had those 2 back-to-back aces, but has struggled here as of late from the line. A bit of a lollipop serve, and it goes long. Hey, I'll tell you what, Nate Clinton is in the matrix tonight on some of these serves.
And the thing on top of it is every time, though, they decide to let it go, they've been right. Like we've seen a couple in that back line for Stanford when they get the serves and BYU lets it go. It finds the line. They even challenge one.
Here's Carrera. Setting the left side. No opportunity on the attack. Tafunga flexing the muscles. I got to fold this one in here. There's a weightlifting gym in the East Bay called Team Tafunga, and it's like everybody's favorite powerlifting gym out there. Mm-hmm. He belongs in there.
Oh, no question.
Namesake and also the guns.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in pads on Saturdays in the fall, that's for sure.
Multi-sport athlete. One-handed stab there by Porter. Here's Rotman. Back line, good dig by Mosier. Tafunga off the touch. Clinton. A set to a big attack, and the tool keeps on chugging. Another point for Stanford. Moses Wagner, the leader in the match. He is going to be upwards of 400% on his 16th kill after that one. 414. Little Phillips. The tough drop serve. Back row attack. Phillips was nowhere in position to grab that one. Coming like a meteor crashing into earth. That back row swing there from Mosier.
Yeah, I don't think there's any type of position you could be ready for to return that. He got absolutely every bit of it.
And then you have the momentum from the back row carrying it forward, just adding more to it. Going back to Wagner. Man, he has been on fire. Only really one poor attack on the evening. Those percentages keep climbing. He's up to 17 kills. What a way to back up a career performance against St. Francis last week. Doing it on a huge stage here in a top 25 matchup. Quick set. The middle attack is strong once more. They went away from A.J. Cottle a few different times, but Cottle comes up with the kill, and it is 9 serving 11. Rewarded for his efforts getting the kill, Cottle to the starting position. Little Phillips over to Wagner, the joust at the net. Out of system, and the block solo for Wagner. You see him on the swing and the block from the right side as well.
Doing a little bit of everything right now. And two, one thing to note as well, you saw Stanford is a lot more cognizant of that middle attack. Again, they had someone there ready to cover it up. They go back outside. It's a good job by Stanford. They had everything covered in that situation.
Mano y mano throwing up those dukes. Back row, Tafunga keeps it in play. Wagner showing a great ability to hit that back line. Tafunga doing his best rendition of it as well. Possibly a challenge here, and Coach Costi is going to challenge this one. You know, you don't have to throw out the green card anymore. You can throw up a C. That was a change-up in the rule, but the old school 20th year head coach in John Costi, he's pulling that green card out of his pocket.
It looked like it was a challenge maybe of where it was on the line. I tell you what, I don't envy these referees that are here on the end lines, because one of those situations, you're trying to do your best to make sure you see where it hits, then you got to get out the way, still get the right call. So maybe there's something there that someone on the Stanford bench saw that one of our referees here couldn't.
Raymond Mink taking a look at the DV Sport. Shouts out to all the officials. It's truly a thankless job.
Yes, it is.
And our DV Sport operators coming out, giving us the best possible looks as well. And so as Stanford fights through it, the first challenge was lost by Sean Olmstead for BYU. So unless this goes to a fifth, only one more challenge remaining for BYU. Stanford, this is their first challenge of the match.
You think about just where we are right now. I know for most of this match, a three-point lead hasn't really meant too much, because whoever else, they find a way to come back, even things out. But, of course, when you're trying to respond from that first lost set that Stanford had in set 3, you want to give yourself a little bit of a cushion here.
Yeah, this has been a very back-and-forth fourth set. Both teams have been just swinging at it. Looking at the tally pool, really nobody's been able to get any sort of run going. It's been 2 points maximum and then side out, trading back and forth. Both of these teams are just fighting through it tooth and nail. This is where you want to be for Stanford. You can go a couple different approaches. Stanford did a little bit of both during this part of the season. They started out iron, sharpening iron. They only played top 25 matchups coming into MPSF play, and when they did have opportunities to play a little bit less talented teams in Jessup, Merced, Concordia, they went out there and they dominated. They did what they were supposed to do, and now when the rubber hits the road against a top 10 team in BYU, they're showing out.
And that's the thing, right? You always have to have that carryover, right? What do you do in those moments, like you said, when you're going against a Jessup or a Merced? Can we see that show up when you go against Hawaii, when you go up against BYU? For the most part of this year, it hasn't shown up for Stanford. Tonight it is.
One thing to factor in as well is that insertion of Nate Clinton. Nate Clinton on the afternoon doesn't have the prettiest numbers attacking. 6 kills, 4 errors, 22 swings. Does have those 2 service aces, but it is offset by quite a few service errors on his own regard. But the defensive ability that Nate Clinton brings has been so impactful on the court. You don't have to rely on Porter or Rotman in that back line to go ahead and get it. You have a guy who can really cover some turf and give you such a strong showing on that defensive side on the floor.
Some of the digs that he's had on that back end when those attacks come from BYU have been absolutely impressive.
The call is in. We're waiting for the up ref to give us some sort of sign, and it looks like it was indeed out. Stanford uses their first challenge, and they will lose it. Both coaches having one challenge left until a potential 5th set.
Now, sometimes it's fun. You like to look at the coaches, see their reactions to what the ruling was on the challenge. You would never really tell with John Costi anyways. Pretty even keel the whole way through.
He'll give you a smile, but he is so calm and collected here. You know, it's like he's been a coach for 20-plus years.
And that's the thing. A lot of times you'll see that a team is usually a reflection of their coach and how they are. So even in certain situations, right, BYU going up against a big-time opponent, Stanford's not going to look too nervous or rattled because of the calm confidence that John Costi instills in them.
Carrera hit one punch and sent the cross hook across the middle of the floor. Great answer after the long stoppage in play from that review. Levitation, man. He went up, literally swung with the left hand, and then used that centripetal force to go over with that right hook.
Centripetal force. We're in the right university to talk about that right now, too.
Hey, Davis is quite an institution as
Oh,
well.
no
My
question.
alma mater, but, I mean, Stanford is Stanford after all. One-handed dig, kept up in play. Carrera couldn't quite get enough of it under those long levers. So many great universities all across California. Of course, the Ivy of the West. I know you like that one. A two-time alumnus of the Cardinal here.
Still trying to figure out how they accepted me in here twice, but I'll take it.
You know, it's like you're good at football or something.
That's what it was.
Carrera, did he catch any hands? No. Let's see. No challenge in sight. Or will Costi do it? Climbing.
Looks like
Regina's
it.
face shows it all. Regina, the SID, one of our most beloved folks here at Stanford. Stanford is using their second challenge here on the touch. And honestly, in such a tight matchup, I don't blame it. You're going so close, you're looking to carry any sort of momentum going forward to just have a little bit of an edge in this fourth as BYU has come back clawing. And you know what? If you lose both of them and it goes to a third, you get them right back.
Right. And also, too, I think this goes to show you the trust that John Costi also has in his team. You saw everybody reacting, whether it's on the bench, who's actually out there on the floor. It was almost kind of like a, all right, fine, I'll challenge it. So, and here we are.
Man, I've had opportunities to talk to Coach Costi before the pregame, and he is such a fun-loving individual. But when he comes to the court, he is so stoic. And it's just so fun to see the contrast in his personality as a person and his personality as a coach.
Yeah, sometimes we'll see him, get in the lunch line at Jimmy V's just right across the street here. And to your point, right, he sees you, smile on his face, he's talking with you, starting up conversation. And now it's just like, what everyone was saying about Kurt Signetti during the playoff, right? This is his happy face. It's nice and blank. This is his upset face. It's just straight blank. And that's the same way John Costi usually is around here, too.
I think Signetti's like that all the way around.
No question.
Oh, man. Indiana and the run that they had, just electric, unheard of turnaround. But in the world of NIL, that can happen quickly.
It can happen quickly, but still at the end of the day, and I think we see this right with these two great coaches here tonight, you can get the talent there. You have to have the right culture and the right environment for all of that talent to still succeed. We've seen a lot of times, whether it's pre-NIL, post-NIL, all the money was spent, and you have a lot of talent there, but it doesn't cohesively work together.
And something you can factor in with Stanford, especially as somebody that does so much recruiting on the football side, is you can't just throw money at the wall to get anybody here. You have to have a very specific type of athlete. A lot of places, you don't go to play school at Stanford. You go to play school and play ball.
Without a doubt. But I think also, too, and you see it even with volleyball, because you have that certain drive and passion, and then you insert yourself in this environment where everybody is that driven to be the best at whatever it is that they are, it only helps to push yourself even more, too.
And after a long deliberation, Raymond Mink delivering bad news to Coach Costi for the second time. So, essentially, 2 timeouts taken by Stanford here, but you still got 2 more in your pocket. As Stanford unable to collect any points there, Stanford still has the advantage as it is 12 serving 13. Porter, who's breakdancing in that break, setting Stanford up with a right-handed attack from Moses Wagner. We were talking about it. Timeouts turning into points for the opposition.
Yeah, the timeouts turn into points, and also finding 11 in the Cardinal red turns into points, too.
That'll do it. Let's see if Nate Clinton can break the trend. A couple service errors, this one over and in play. Brother to brother on the back set. Clinton with that dig. Setting up Rotman. A soft jab stays on his side of the floor. Tafunga through the triple block, goes wide. No hands caught it along the way. Attacking error for Tafunga. And Stanford gets another rip at it with Clinton. Stanford, the first team to 15. Man, we've had quite a long set here before the first timeout. No timeouts officially taken. 15 here in the fourth. Cardinal are showing their stuff in this fourth. Jordan Watkins, Max Agress bringing the action here. And Jordan, Stanford really just turning the page and getting back to the bread and butter here in the fourth.
Well, what's been so fun about this is we've seen the counter to the counter, and the counter and the counter to the counter. Now Stanford, you look at what the trends were for them as this match has gone on, right? Obviously, again, we talked about that impressive first set, but you look at the last two, right, hitting under, either right around or under 250. Now they're right back over 353 here in this fourth set.
You can argue it was a little closer to 210.
Yeah.
And after the timeout, it's Little Phillips and Carrera. Little Phillips, man, getting a chest bump from his whole squad.
Everybody.
Flying up there. He's 6'2", but he's standing tall.
Oh, he hit him with the too small celly, too. Go ahead, Jacob. I ain't mad at you.
All the beach volleyball behind us cheering on the men's squad after they got their victories today. And Clinton on the service run, giving Stanford an opportunity. And an opportunity to rip off the block turns into a point for Tafunga. Talon Jonathan Tafunga has been the answer after Stanford finally breaks the streak, getting 3 points in a row.
It's always a privilege whenever you're in a situation like BYU. You have so many options that you can go to kind of answer a run. But like you said, Tafunga's been really the big key into it this night.
And Rotman going to the back row. That barrier of the media table standing too tall. Rotman gets right back into the action. Here's your two-setter lineup as Theron Briette, the senior out of San Jose, California, comes right back in. Came in as a server for a moment, mainly a service specialist in this match. Two Cougars run into each other. Set to the far side, and that one goes wide. Attacking error on Tafunga. And you blink and you look up, and Stanford is up 18-3, forces the first timeout out of the pocket of BYU as Sandstorm slowly building up. Oh, man.
Well, it was.
They did me a dirty one of that.
Well, one thing's for sure, we're not in South Carolina. They would never let that happen to Sandstorm.
Oh, man.
But I tell you, this has been such an interesting set, because you talked about this is the first official timeout that's been called, but we've had 3 other stoppages.
Yeah.
And you can tell where I think BYU, they haven't really been able to get in a rhythm in this set, whereas Stanford's like, okay, we're going to stop it here or there. That's fine. We'll just pick up wherever we need to and find a way to make things happen.
And if you want to talk about a team having fun, Cha-Cha Slide blasting over the speakers here. You know, you're in the huddle. Half the team's doing the Cha-Cha Slide for the Cardinal right now.
Yeah, is there any other good, perfect sign of you're up 2-1 on BYU and up 5 points in set 4?
Man, the only thing I wish could have happened right now, I wish the band was sitting there in the corner. That would be the cherry on top with the dollies, the tree, and everything.
Well, especially you think about it, of all the women's volleyball matches that happen in here, right? You see them, they get the win, they go to the band, they get the little conductor stick as well and start dancing with it.
I'll tell you what, though, BYU is a team that is going to fight tooth and nail to the very end.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see if Briette can buck the trend. Timeouts resulting into points on the other side has been what we've seen time and time again this evening. Briette goes up with the serve, sends a missile in that back line. Hiding behind the block, and Tafunga capitalizing once more. Just a thunder strike from that left side pin.
When in doubt, Stanford calls 11. And when in doubt for BYU, it's you call 9 and see if you can make things happen. He's been doing what we saw Stanford do a lot of in some of those middle sets. He's found that cut shot to be really successful.
14 kills now for Tafunga. Here's the overpass, the swing, resulting in the point. Another successful attack by A.J. Cottle. Just when we thought they went away from him, A.J. Cottle now 12 attacks, hitting .857. Here's Trevor Herget. Clinton receives. Setting left side. Rotman down the line. Rock and roll. Rotman with another point.
And that's been the change in this set. Stanford has been going down the line a lot more than what we saw earlier.
Here's Little Phillips. One of the most aggressive servers on this Cardinal unit. And sometimes aggression turns into a mistake. Another service error. Service errors in the match now. Stanford has 18, BYU 15. One of the big differences, 2 aces, both of them by Tafunga for BYU. Stanford with 8. And Tafunga trying to get another there. McFall on an awkward swing. Little Phillips set McFall up with pressure, and it caught him on the backside of the swing. But hey, sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be skillful.
Oh, you know what? You might want to put that in the playbook because even from where I'm sitting, I didn't even know if McFall actually touched it. It seemed like BYU surely was ready for him to cut that one across.
Yeah, I want to see the official stat book there. Let's see if McFall gets credit or maybe it's a kill.
Yeah, it looks like it is for McFall.
Ryan Duras, opportunity to serve. Sky high, Little Phillips trying to get the kick serve, but Cottle continues to dominate. A.J. Cottle, they did a really good job at the beginning of the set to go ahead and get that block, but since then, the read has not quite been there, and the middle blocker for BYU has been a huge lifeline late in this fourth. Climbing up, Clinton. Off the block. And it looked like that ball hit the antenna. The up official gets a helping hand from Raymond Mink. Third time's the charm, man. We've been saying Ray's name all broadcast long. Point for BYU, 18 serving 20. Pushing it into the pin and catching that back line. Moses Wagner just throwing fades.
He's just been an absolute force tonight. And again, every single big point earlier on in those big moments for Stanford, again, they would go to Alex Rotman. He'd find a way to put a big impact. But as of late, Moses Wagner said, hop on my back. I'll take us home.
Carson Kneisel, an opportunity. And as he walks out to can't see me now, can't see another opportunity. Too long on this service error.
BYU now finding themselves in that same position Stanford was in that last set. Starting to run out of room. You want to piece some things together.
Trevor Herget is going to be a big piece of this solution here. Came in the third set, has been a productive member, especially from that service line. Little Phillips over to Carrera. Tafunga keeps things up and alive and out of system. Wow. Trent Mosier high pointing that ball, and BYU climbs within one.
Telon Jonathan Tafunga, that point, that credit for all that goes to you. Again, that's some great hustle. You talked about it. They're out of system. Whenever you can get those out of system kills like that, it just makes you feel so good and building on some momentum.
21-20. BYU off the point, looking to tie things up late in the fourth, trying to keep things alive. But the Cardinal using a timeout to try to kill some of the momentum. The hustle has been on display. Stanford has done such a great job getting in system and working in system tonight, and that is one of the keys to why they have found so much success. But when they've gone out of system, it was Stanford with the advantage early on, but the momentum of that just freak energy has slid in the direction of BYU, and they have been capitalizing as of late.
Well, Max, I think it kind of goes back to what you said in the previous set where you saw a lot of that energy start to exude more. It was more obvious from BYU. And I think, one, sometimes you have to trick yourself into feeling it and being really in the moment. I think BYU's kind of done that to an extent. And it's like you said, now you see them really taking advantage of it on the scoreboard.
BYU 15-4 on the season, 2-0 in conference play. After getting a couple wins against some of the newcomers in UC Merced and Jessup. But here in the fourth, fighting hard, clawing their way back in, no quit in the way of the Cougars. Do they have enough to try to send us through a fifth here at Maples? Trevor Herget in his 19th match played. This is his 52nd set played on the year. Had a great performance against Menlo College with 11 kills. The former second-team All-American in the high school ranks. That is his first service error that has gone into the net. Had done such a good job serving tonight, but the curse of the timeout looming.
I think we found our new Friday the 13th thing.
22, serving 20. It's Wagner. Fife with the receive. Off the touch, Porter from his knees digs it up. Setting up Clinton. Catching a finger. Oh, there's no timeouts left, or there's no challenges left. But from my vantage point right here alongside that pin, I looked like it went off a hand.
No, it was definitely close. Usually what I like to do, I'll try to see who else on the attacking team, who has something to say about it. And in that case, Stanford really didn't have that much of a test to it.
Little Phillips going back over to Wagner. Flying through the sky is Moses Wagner.
He might be saving his best for last.
Moses Wagner, 20 kills leading the way. And you know what? Hitting 471 to do it.
That sounded like a cannon just got shot off in here.
Sonic boom. Clinton calm, composed. High points it. And too far. A nail biter here in the fourth. After the service error, side out 22, serving 23. Max Felipe.
Wow.
Wide left. It is set and match point for the Cardinal here. Friday the 13th. Stanford's fans are on their feet looking to close it out. Kamada Carrera in the back line. Carrera keeps this one in play. Going to the middle attack. The bread and butter in A.J. Cottle continues. No room for error left. Tyler Herget. Out to the starting position. 23 serving 24. Dug up by Rotman. Luke McFall. And here is Cottle once more. Going to the well time and time again. And we've got extra points in the fourth.
Well, that well keeps bringing you water. Back against the wall, 2 huge points right there by A.J. Cottle. And now if you're Stanford, again, a good use of a timeout. You have to regather yourself. You think you're 1 point away potentially from a win, and here you are playing extra.
The momentum has gone back and forth, and both teams here in this third set have been showing some offensive discipline. 385 in the fourth for Stanford, 12 kills, 2 errors on 26 swings. On the other side, 323, 17 kills, 7 errors, 31 total swings for BYU. And it's really going to come down to who has more in the gas tank, isn't it?
And didn't you just think, after that service error, didn't it just feel like that? Oh, I think BYU might have just cost themselves a chance to come back at this one. You talk about what's left in the tank, and obviously so much of that is physical, but even just mentally, right? We've seen a lot of back and forth, a lot of quirkiness in this match tonight. Who still has enough physically and mentally more so than that to close this one out?
Stanford is smaller in stature, but they have been playing absolute physical volleyball in this evening. And that's something that is a change of pace on the trend that we've seen this season. Stanford, when they played smaller opponents, has shown this dominant physical style of play. But against bigger teams like BYU, they haven't been able to do the sort. And we've seen it kind of in ebbs and flows. We've seen the block very strong against the pin, but then the middle attacks are the thing that has been open for BYU. So can Stanford make the adjustment here late as BYU coming out after the dreaded timeout? 24 serving 24. Tyler Herget in a massive position here. Best of two wins it. And a service error in a massive moment, trying to will it over that tape, but just couldn't quite get enough on it. Jacob Little-Phillips, the freshman, in a huge moment. Can he get a massive win here for the Card? Service errors traded back and forth, and it's 25-25. Tufunga is the man you want on that back line right now if you're BYU. Tufunga unable to complete it. You can see the body language of all the BYU fans folding into themselves here.
Are you not entertained?
Sticking with Rotman. They're not sending in Ryan Duras here.
Oh, here's the ice. Oh,
the
little
icing.
sportsmanship. Here we go.
The icing on the cake, and let's see if Stanford can have their cake and eat it too. A massive moment here as the final timeout in this fourth set is burned. So much stoppage in play, but we wouldn't want it any other way.
Indeed, you are right. I'm going to say a little gamesmanship right here. I mean, we've seen back-to-back-to-back service errors, and it's just playing with the tape too. So let's see if Stanford can find a way to overcome it right here. Yeah, you got to see one get in play.
I think that's a great point you're making right there. Overcoming adversity is the trend. We've seen Stanford get into moments where they've gotten close against some of these big teams on the season, but they haven't been able to take it over the top. Here, massive moment at home in Maples on your stint before you're taking on some of the thick of the MPSF. Can you get a win to cement the momentum that you have been carrying on the last few matches? Stanford currently on a 4-match winning streak. Alex Rotman will come out after the timeout. You can see a little bit of a nervous smile in his face as he claps and calms himself down. The redshirt junior out of Santa Barbara. Fatigue on display.
You talk about a big moment. How about you have to wait 8 more seconds? Too?
Everybody was ready to go.
Timeout to come out, yeah.
Now here's the buzzer. 26 serving 25 after the timeout. It's Rotman. This one's in play. Going to the pin and off the block. So you do get the actual opportunity to attack here. And one-on-one, the victory won by Trent Mosier on that rep. Mosier now with 15 kills, tying Cottle. Here's Cottle. Received by Rotman. Back over to Wagner. Great dig by the setter. And on one, it's Nate Clinton. You know what? Let's do it again.
No doubt. I'll tell you what, you hear this talked about so much with basketball, that second jump. I mean, Nate Clinton, that was pretty impressive. He went up, getting ready for if that second hit was going to go over or not. Then he had to reload and still find a way to get something on that attempt.
Everyone on their feet here at Maples. Here's McFall's serve. Tufunga with the receive. Going to their outside hitter. Kept alive. Free ball. Little Phillips going middle. Kamada Carrera unable to keep it in. BYU and a lucky bounce buys another life.
Are you kidding me?
BYU fans feeling it. Nervousness across the face of everyone here. The Dow's Carrera punches it over. Left side, the block for Stanford. Moses Wagner. Wagner, the lifeline of everyone on this Cardinal Red squad. He's going to the back line now. 28 serving 27. An aggressive take. Nearly an ace. Out of system.
Oh, wow.
The answer from Mosier. Back and forth goes Mosier and Wagner.
It's the extra efforts. It's the big time plays. I mean, right now it's high level volleyball on both sides of the net.
It's going to come down to who wants it more. Here's Mosier into the net. Falling to his rear end as he put everything into it. Walking up to the land of the rising sun is Clinton. Can he rise up and finishes up? Here's Clinton. Back row swing! That one goes long! Mosier with the attacking error, and after a hard-fought fourth set, Stanford collects the victory here at Maples, 3-1.
Max, I thought we were just going to keep going until we're supposed to start tomorrow. But what an impressive set, obviously, for both teams. What an impressive match for Stanford. You talk about that momentum that they had coming in, finding a way to make it carry over and transfer. I think they might have found something here tonight.
Found something indeed. Stanford takes the match 3-1, 25-21, 25-22, 23-25 as BYU took that third set. And it took every single bit of heart and soul, but the Cardinal take it in the fourth, 30-28. Cardinal hitting 306 to end it, and they hit 367 in this deciding set. BYU fought tooth and nail in their own regard, but man, they're going to have a boulder on their shoulder going into tomorrow.
No question about it, and that's a big question too for Stanford. You got that big time win that you were looking for against one of those top 10 opponents. Now the question for you, you talked about it when we were opening up, the consistency of it all, right? And consistency, now that we've seen it set to set for Stanford, you got to do it match to match. Can they repeat this performance tomorrow?
Our star of the game is definitely going to be Moses Wagner. Coming out, getting it done on both ends, finishes it with 20 kills, hitting 457 at 3 digs, 4 blocks in his own regard. Have yourself a day, Mr. Senior.
He was absolutely incredible. And again, especially those last few sets, anytime Stanford needed that big-time point to stop a BYU run, they went to Moses Wagner, and every single time he delivered.
What a fun one here at Maples to open up our weekend of play against BYU. The number 7 team drops here on Friday the 13th.